Hi Ashok, you had a unique opportunity of heading operations of Schindler in 3 countries, right? Vietnam, followed by Malaysia, and then India. Diverse cultures, diverse market. So, can you talk about your experiences on this in Vietnam and Malaysia?
Okay. Well, I also wanted to include Australia in the list of 4. And we will definitely, I want to mention about
Go ahead.
Malaysia. The reason I mentioned is, Australia being a developed economy, and then the remaining 3 were developing. And that was the biggest difference that I found and learned, firstly, coming to Vietnam. Coming to Vietnam was actually very challenging because all of my working experience was in Australia. When I was working in India before moving overseas, I was not doing any real job. So the first real job was Australia, so I learned nuances of running a business there. But Vietnam was the first developing economy experience, and that was absolutely eye-opening, I must say, in the sense that when I landed in Vietnam, I realized that it was a turnaround. They had a fatality the year before. The accountings was all incorrectly done to show higher revenue and then a higher profit. We had people leaving, the culture was terrible. There was quite a lot of dissatisfaction in the organization. So it was quite a big challenge, and the biggest challenge was acceptability of the Vietnamese towards a brown-skinned person and somebody who was only 32 years old. So they were quite, I would say, unsure, Indian guy, very young, we are in trouble, what is he going to do? So it was very fascinating in that way. But I have a methodology in life that I always follow. Every challenge, I look at it like an MBA project. So I don't get emotionally upset about it. I just think that if this was a case study in MBA, how will I solve it? So I'm able to keep the problem on the table and look at the problem and come up with a plan. So that's exactly what my approach was. Always starting to make sure, first thing I always make sure is to make sure there's a good team who can drive this forward.
Right.
So I focused on building a very strong team. Funny enough, the second month, the CFO resigned.
Okay.
It's only after she quit I realized why she resigned, because the numbers were all fudged. So she wanted to get away before we found out. And after that, we found out that revenues was overstated by $1 million. And it was actually that year we had to report a loss in the financial numbers for the business. And reporting bad news is never a good thing, and not many people like that as well. But I wanted to start on a clean slate and be honest about what happened without blaming anyone. Whatever happened, happened. And that is where we started. So I had to find a new CFO who was a fantastic replacement that we secured. And I found that the HR was very much an administrative, transactional person, not very strategic. So I was able to convince the existing HR head to take a step down as a number 2, and I was able to bring a senior person, a Vietnamese American, a very confident, strong person who came in. And very interesting was this person who I brought in was not from HR background. She's actually a marketing and operations background person. Because I interviewed so many HR people, I wasn't satisfied. And finally, this person, even the headhunter was quite confused. He's like, what do you really want? Because whoever I put, you're not happy. But most of them I found as transactional, they're just looking into doing the paperwork for HR. I wanted somebody who could really drive the HR strategy. So I remember, first time in my life, I tried a case study method as a final round interview.
Okay.
So I gave her the Schindler Vietnam story, and I said, please present a 5-year HR strategy. How do you take this organization to the next level? And she did very well. So she joined them. And the third interesting point again on people was one of our very good young talents was a field engineer. I was told when I joined that he is one of the bright stars. And part of engaging with the talents, I had a lunch with him, and in that lunch he gave me his resignation letter. He said he's got a job as a factory manager for Procter & Gamble. They're putting a new line for nappies. They're making nappies. And it was an exciting opportunity for him.
Okay.
26-year-old guy, very smart, and they were sending him to Japan for 1 year training. So all starry-eyed going overseas. So I had to give him something better than that to retain him, and that was probably the biggest gamble I took in my life. I remember calling my head office and saying that this guy is leaving, and predominantly the issue is most of the people in the FQE department, technical department, they weren't happy with the head.
Okay.
So the guy was not motivating the employees in his team. So I proposed that I promote this guy as the head of the department, and that I will find another opportunity for that person who was currently the head of the department. And even the Vietnamese were quite shocked. They said, how can you give this to a very young kid? He's only been in the company for 3 years. How can he run the technical department? I had this intuition that he would work out well, and I kindled the parochialness in the Vietnamese team that if you don't support your fellow Vietnamese, how can I as a foreigner run this company? So that kind of sold the game for the short term, but he had to prove himself, and he did. Later on, he became very successful. He went on to become the KG head for Cambodia and Schindler.
Oh, okay.
And he's come back now as the EI director and being built as the succession for the KG head for Vietnam.
Okay.
So I mentioned these examples because a lot of times I think we have to take some risks in running organizations. Yes, some may fail, but I always feel that it's better to fail doing something different than failing doing the same thing
Correct.
again.
Correct.
So that was, and slowly, I'll just end in Vietnam with one point. Every year in Jardine Schindler Group, in January, there is a meeting of all the management team of all the countries where awards are given out for the Jardine Schindler organization. That award ceremony in January, where my management team and myself attended, we were in the bottom of the table. This was 2013 January.
Okay.
And we were the reason why the group missed so Jardine Schindler Group missed their targets as well because of our 2012 performance. So the team was very ashamed that we were in the bottom on every parameter, and there they themselves came and said this has to change, and next year we should be running for winning this award. And I said, I'm in. If you guys are in, we'll make it happen. And that was a big spirit change. So the team came back. We had a new HR, new finance director. I then had an issue with the head of sales, who was eyeing for my position. A very typical, strong, self-obsessed Asian person who thought that he was the best thing after brown bread. And he was running a sales organization where he was the god and everybody else was just a subservience to him. So he used to keep the team very happy by just paying them well, but he will take all the orders. He had all the connection with the customers. So he kept it that way, so he had the power with him. And again, we had to take a very clever way to disassociate him without upsetting him. So we actually had to find a way to send him to a different role out of the country. And I promoted the operations head as a sales head. We did that for 2 years to reduce and diminish the power that the previous person had over the customers. And that 2 years, this person was able to establish his contact with the customers.
Okay.
2 years later, eventually, the organization found his issues, and he was asked to leave. And the person who became the operations head then became the KG head as well later. So with this kind of new team, 2014, the organization drove the results really, really well. It was unfortunate that October 2014, we faced another fatality. So we were almost at October 27, I still remember. We were almost going to, we had record results that year. First year itself, the results was fantastic. The mood was great. We had built a strong culture. Everybody knew that we will win the award. It became talk of the town and Jardine Schindler as well. But this happened, and it again demoralized.
Okay.
So again we regrouped ourselves and marched ahead for 2015 in a very strong way. And 2015 they won the award.
Okay,
First time
that was
in history.
good. That was good.
I still remember when we came back from Hong Kong winning the award, the whole Vietnam team had organized a red carpet welcome for us. Because first time we brought the award to Vietnam.
Great feeling.
Yeah, great feeling. For 2015 we got the award. 2016 also we got the award. And that's the year when I moved to Malaysia.
Okay.
So it was a great experience.
What about Malaysia?
Malaysia, I would say till date my most challenging assignment. And if you ask me why, I tell the single reason is the culture. It has a very caustic culture of pulling each other down.
Oh, really?
And this somewhere, very very unfortunate for the Malaysians. It is a very government-driven thing. They always politically play the races against each other, the Chinese, Indians, and Malays. And this has always been it permeated the organizations as well.
Okay.
So constantly the Chinese are trying to pull the Indians down, the Indians the Chinese down, and the Malays are caught in between, wondering what do I do with these two powerful races who are small in numbers but very powerful in intelligence and running organizations. We did a lot of work in culture. So my first year was driving culture, about a performance-driven culture, oneness, no racism. This was the topic, So, moment I came, the Indians felt that now Indians will rule the roost and they will have a.
Yeah.
I still remember one of the Indian supervisors came to me. He said in Tamil, he was a Tamil because mostly the Indians
Most
are
of
Tamils,
those.
right? He came and said, all our people want to meet you. I said, who is our people? He said, sir, all the Indians, we want to meet you who are in Schindler. I said, what is the issue? He said, no, we have a lot of issues about our community, we want to share with you. I said, I'm not I'm not the managing director for Indians.
Oh.
I'm managing director for the company. So I said, you bring all the supervisors, Chinese, Malays, you bring all supervisors. I will meet all the supervisors. I'm not going to just meet the Indian supervisors alone. That's what he wanted in an Indian restaurant. So that was the last time I saw him actually. I never saw him after that because he didn't like that I didn't want to meet only. And I think it's the right thing I did. I can't be seen favoring a particular community. And very consciously, we were trying to develop the Malays as well, who were always the backward, treatment they were getting. So we successfully bought a HR head who is now a HR head now. She's a Malay. During my time, we had recruited her. We were developing her to take up management team positions. During the time I was there, we were able to again, it was a turnaround as well. The results, so turnaround in the sense that they were not hitting their targets. But Malaysia had a track record of being one of the best performing countries in regarding Schindler Group. They had missed budgets for 3 years, because of which they had a change of leadership. I was brought in. So 2015 I went, 2015 end I went. 2016 we already achieved our results. 2017 as well we achieved our results. But they had to be kept under very tight niche. Moment you let loose, that racism thing comes out and they start playing against each other. Again, a lot of push in terms of developing the talents, recognizing the field people's importance in the organization. One significant example I want to share is there was a mindset that Schindler is very strong in the major metros.
Okay.
So Kuala Lumpur, Johor Bahru, and East Malaysia. So Penang, which was also a very big town, they said it's Kone territory.
It's an industrial town actually.
Yeah.
Once upon a
So they said, Penang, where I think Otis had a factory, I think.
How many people had factories?
Yeah, correct. And they were telling me that, that is a Kone territory, we don't go there. So they don't come to our territory, we don't go to their territory.
Something like indirect cartel.
Correct. I'm like, this is funny, right? And we had been existing in Malaysia for quite a long time, and Penang, we had a portfolio of 400 units. When we could have, and Kone was like 2,000, 3,000. So there was one particular order which was a game changer in history of Malaysia, I think. It was an order of 441 units. I knew about the order after the tender was submitted. One day after the tender was submitted by the Malaysian team, by my own team. They had submitted the tender, and head office called me. They said, "Are you aware of this order? There's a 441 units order." I said, "No, I'm not aware." And when I asked my team, they said, "Oh, this is not our job. We just given a budgetary price because the local company will take it." Sigma, which was the partner, second tier of Otis.
Otis, correct.
It was that segment, an affordable segment product that they wanted. And this customer was a new customer. We've never heard of them before. So my team said, "We can't do this." Again, I challenged the team. I said, "Why do we go with the mindset we can't win? So why don't we do something different?" And they said, but we don't know anyone. So then I went to our partners in Malaysia. We had a JV with the royal family of Malaysia, Anta. So we went to Anta and we asked them if they knew anybody from this customer side. They happened to know the chairman.
Oh, okay.
So I flew to Malaya, Penang, met the chairman. He said, you guys are very expensive, so we don't usually consider you. I asked them to give me an opportunity. So we resubmitted the tender with a more competitive price. Again, we were far away, 30% away. Then I had to call a very special meeting with the factories, with the engineering team. So we actually worked on cost engineering, reduced our cost down, and we were able to come 5% below even what the customer budget was.
Okay.
So it actually showed to the team that if you really want, it can happen. And then again, we had a problem. They were Sigma were dropping the prices. So they were going to sign the order, and again we were not able to. Then the chairman said, "You have talked to the CEO. I'm only the chairman. And CEO takes the call." And he happens to be a 29-year-old person of Indian origin.
Oh.
And we found out that IKEA was setting up a factory in that complex. Not factory. Their IKEA was coming up. So then I realized that Jardine has a JV with IKEA. So then I went to head office in Schindler, Jardine Schindler. We spoke to Jardine. They got me an appointment with the CEO of this customer. Then I told my boss to fly over. We met in the airport, in Kuala Lumpur airport. And in half an hour, we closed the deal.
Oh, really?
And we got the order,
Yeah, you're right. It was a game changer completely.
It was a game changer,
Absolutely.
because we doubled our portfolio in Penang. And suddenly Schindler had arrived, in this segment as well.
Okay.
So this is the kind of the
Very
two major
interesting.
things that I remember in Malaysia. And it's a country with great potential, and I really hope if they resolve their people issue, they will go really well. But it gave a very strong foundation then for me to come to India,